Kingdom Purpose TV.
Hello, this is Kingdom Inspiration News, and this is our spotlight segment of the show. So, this week's guest is really a special guest for me, and I am excited to have him on. I've known him for over 20 years. His name is Alex Tillery. And as you can guess by the last names, yes, we are related. I have the privilege and honor of bringing on this week my husband, Alex Tillery, also known as Coach Till. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So he's been running from me the last couple of months trying to avoid getting on here. But you know what? I'm like, no, I need you to come on this week. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, like Gwen said, I'm Coach Tell, but Alex Tillery, aka Coach Tell. I've been in education now for over 20 years. I work with the youth in various forms, from mentoring programs to coaching in basketball, and just being like a big brother type of person to the community.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more, like, where you from, where do you live now, that kind of stuff.
You trying to get deep? Okay. So I'm originally from the Bronx, New York. Um, Moved down to South Jersey in 2001. Um, I was born and raised in the South Bronx on East Tremont Avenue, Ellesmere Place. Then I moved around to various parts of the Bronx before moving out to New Jersey. Um,
Okay.
I actually started in education in the Bronx. Uh, Started back in '99, working in the school out in over by Kingsbridge, and from there, that's when I kind of started believing in working with the youth and giving back to the community.
Good. Okay. So you you are a contributing author to the book entitled Through the Fire: Stories of Strength, Courage, and Resilience. And the title of your chapter is Love of the Game.
Love for the game.
For the game, yes. Love for the game. So tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about? Love for the game. What is that about?
So, love for the game just tells a brief um, summary of my life and the things I went through before I got to where I'm at now. Love for the game is basically me saying how sports kind of saved my life. Basketball in particular saved my life. It was tragic. I had tragic things that happened to me as a young age, and I always was able to fall back on basketball. Basketball was a way that I dealt with a lot of issues that I had, from like depression and things like that, and just trauma that was in my life. Basketball was like the thing I could go to get myself, like, to free my mind and just don't think about it for a while as I played the game. And because of that, I used that as a tool, push me to get through high school, to get further on in life and get to the point of now in the process of getting ready to start my first year at coaching high school basketball.
So
So
I'm sorry. Go ahead. So how did you first get involved with basketball? How old were you and how did you first get involved with basketball?
I played basketball in the neighborhood with my cousins and my friends, and didn't really have a skill yet, but I just loved to play, and I always was a guy that liked to hustle. So I played defense all the time. I could run up and down the court all day long. Um, I had a tragic event in my life, so when you read the book, you will see that. But it took a friend of mine that asked me to come to a basketball tryout one day, And when I went to the tryout, I actually made the team. And from there, it just was a way for me to release a lot of my stress and energy. So um, I
Wait,
just
before you go further, you could give a little more detail. We're not going to tell the whole story, but how did you show up to show just how unprepared you were, but how God really does guide you, and he knows what it's going to take for you to get to where it is that he wants you to go. How did you show up for practice?
so I showed up in a pair of light blue jeans, a pair of sneakers, and a white T-shirt. Every other guy on the court had on shorts and sneakers and T-shirts. And they looked like basketball players. I did not show up looking like a basketball player. It's like I just came off the street and walked into the gym.
But yet you still made the team.
And the coach saw something in me. I guess he saw my hustle and my grit that he was like, there's something about this kid that I like. So when we doing all the drills and running up and down the court, I was always one of the top people to get back. And the coach liked my hustle, so he put me on the team. And from that point on, I just started learning the game and how to play it. Um, just again, it was just a way for me to release my mind and just be focused on basketball at that time and not think about anything else.
Right. Okay. So again, now this was like middle school, or were you even in middle school at this point?
So at this point, I was in middle school. I was in the eighth grade at that time. I was in the eighth
Okay.
grade when when this occurred.
So then you went on and you played high school basketball.
Yeah, my first year I played at Walton High School in the Bronx. I played there for 2 years. Then I ended up transferring to Taft High School my junior and senior year.
Oh,
Um,
can I ask why'd you transfer?
I transferred because of I just thought I was the man, and cutting class and not getting my keeping my grades up. And at the time, I was living with my sister, and she told me if I don't keep my grades up, that she was going to transfer me to Taft High School. But me being a knucklehead at the time, I failed classes, cutting classes, not going to school, things like that. So she ended up keeping her word and transferring me to Taft High School.
And so now you transfer and you're at Taft. And does that really change things? Because this is the school she works at. So she knows whether you're there. She knows what's going on, correct?
So yes, her and my grandma worked there. They both worked at the school, so everybody knew who I was. So it wasn't really getting away with too much of anything. Um, we lived together, so she knew what time I had to be to school, and sometimes either she'd leave before me or after me, but I better come by her office so she knew I was in school that day. So it changed my behavior, it changed my attitude towards school and things like that. It was also kind of difficult because when I transferred to the school, I transferred in the middle of the year, so I wasn't able to play the first part of my junior year of basketball, and it was kind of depressing. It was kind of hard for me not having the opportunity to play high school ball at that time, and I was able to get my grades up so I could play the second half of my junior year, and then so on to my senior year.
So once again, basketball was motivation to keep you on track.
Well, because of basketball, I can't lie. Because of basketball, I graduated high school. That's one thing I promised my mom I would do, and I figured out a way to get through high school, and that was through basketball. But for in order for me to keep playing, I had to keep my grades up, and I had to have my attendance great or my attendance well. So that was my way of getting through school was to play basketball.
So you finish high school and you could have gone to college, but you made a decision at that time that you weren't going to go to school, correct?
Yeah, I made a decision to do some activities that I'm not proud of, and that kind of led me down a road of a couple. couple of things that I wish I could take back to a certain degree. Um, but yeah, it led me down a road that I really didn't need to go down, and I shouldn't have went down. But again, basketball was able to pull me back out of that, and basketball was able to get me to focus on the things that I need to focus on.
So right, because within well, actually, before you even, I think before you were even out of high school, you were already coaching, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, yeah, I was actually coaching 15 and under basketball team as I played on the 18 and under basketball team. So uh, I would coach my 15 and under basketball team in a game maybe an hour or two before I actually played in a game. And I think that was when I had that fire for coaching because they needed someone to coach them and there was nobody available. So I took on a role, and me not being but so much older than them, but I was able to get them to buy into what I was teaching them and what I was coaching them on. And it kind of built something in me like I think I have something here that I should start building on, and that was that was kind of it right there.
So then you went on from that to actually running, if I remember correctly, a youth program
Yeah,
at
so
a center.
yeah, so I had got a job at a community center. It was an after school program. So I was like the assistant director of the recreation center. So we would have from 3 to 6, we'll have the after school program for the young kids after school, do homework, and then have gym time, play basketball, do whatever. And then from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., I ran an open gym for adults. So that's where I had guys that I know from the neighborhood would come into the gym and we would play basketball for 3 hours. And that was our time to, kind of stay off the streets and have something to do. And it was really, really a good thing. And then from there, we had offered the community a summer program basketball clinic. So we was able to grab kids off the street for the summer. They would come into the program for free, and we would teach them basketball skills, and then we feed them lunch and things like that, and they would learn the game. And then at the end of the day, we would play in different various basketball tournaments. So I was fortunate to um, have this young man that he couldn't make a layup for anything. I mean, he was the biggest kid. He's one of the biggest kids in the program, but he was just there. I guess somebody said you need to go. They looked at it as a babysitting program, I guess, for the summer. And he just came and he was so willing to learn. And by the end of the summer, he was working with him and having him on my team and showing him different things. He was able to get most improved player, and that again showed me that this is something that I should really look at doing and get involved in.
Yeah, so let's move forward a little bit. So you kind of stay connected with basketball one way or another, whether it's you just playing basketball, just for your own recreational fun and purposes or working with youth. But at this point, you had kind of decided that, basketball and coaching and working with youth was kind of the path you saw yourself on. So at what point do you really start thinking like, I think I can do this coaching thing?
So to backtrack with that, when I took basketball and I seen the way it helped me per se, I said I could use this as a tool to work with other young men. So that's where I started a mentoring program. So the mentoring program was called Hope Through Hoops, and it was basically me teaching young men basketball skills, but also teaching them life skills through the game of basketball. And with that, again, it was just basketball has always been a connection for me. It brought me to different areas in my life that I didn't think I would able to get to. I had connections with a lot of people that and that helped me get to certain levels of my life. So basketball has been like my connection to a lot of things.
And look, I got to now look. We'll speak more like on a personal level. So me, being the wife, never really until recently, never really understood how much of a connection basketball was for you. For me, I just saw it as, what this guy just wants to go play ball. Like, he just want to be in the gym running around, tossing the ball. I never, until recently, understood that there was purpose. It was more than just basketball. And I just want to share that because sometimes, whether it be, you as the parent or you as the spouse or you as the teacher, we got to take the time to really understand when somebody has an interest or a passion about something, where it's coming from, and not make assumptions about it or just generalizations about it. Because now, in retrospect, 20 plus years, and you share this story and you go into so much detail in the book, I understand why you gave that portion of the book that title. Because you know what, it is love for the game, but I even thought like it could have been titled Basketball Saved My Life. So, now where you're at, you've allowed that love for that thing, which was no accident, actually to be the guiding force for how you connect with youth in so many different ways. I mean, you've even left out the part I got, because I know the story a little bit, even in the church, atmosphere. Tell us a little bit about that, because I mean, literally, like every aspect of your life, whether it was professional, recreational, ministry related, you found a way to infuse basketball. It was that, and even the midnight basketball. So, talk to us a little bit about, because again, I think people, when they think of ministry and they think about God using them, they are so narrow in their focus. And so I know, having watched you for all these years, that God has absolutely used this love that you have for basketball as a form of ministry in multiple arenas and in multiple ways. So tell us a little bit how you even implemented it in church.
So just to backtrack a little bit, how you know how much I love the game, just for us to be transparent. We used to have the issue with me getting up 5 o'clock, not five, I'm sorry, getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning every Saturday. And now you understand why I was so dedicated to going to play basketball at 7 o'clock in the morning every Saturday, because you, like, from reading a book and reading that part of the story that you probably didn't realize, that's why I was getting up every Saturday. No matter if I only had 3 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep, I was getting up dedicated every Saturday to go play basketball. But to go into what the ministry part of it, um, it was something that, again, basketball was connection. Me and a lot of the guys at the church that we attended at the time, we always talk basketball, we always play basketball. Just have sometimes when we go on the men's retreat, we would play basketball. That was one of our main things that we love to do when we go on the men's retreat. So New Year's Eve, back in the days, I'm used to going out. I'm not used to being in the house. 12 o'clock, the ball drop, I'm out chilling, hanging out, da, da. But something was like, we need to do something else as men of God, or, just to do something where we could still enjoy ourselves, but not be out in the streets or getting into things we shouldn't be getting into. So I had to talk with a few of the guys, and we started what we call midnight basketball. And I didn't think it was going to go over well, because, I think, a lot of guys, yeah, they come, they bring in the New Year's in church, but then they have other plans, other places they want to go afterwards. So the first year we did it, we had a great turnout. And it became like, it was where we ministered to each other, and we joke around. And it got so big that as years went on, the wives joined in, Because the beginning, it was just the guys, the wives would go home, the guys would go to the gym to like 3 in the morning. We'll play basketball, have a good time, and then come home. But it got to the point where the wives see how much we enjoyed it. They would cook, have dinner for us afterwards. They made a game room for the kids so they could have movie time and play games and things like that. So that was something that was really appreciated when it came to that. And then when that was going on, my pastor at the time had asked me to be involved with a tournament. So it was a new park that was just built right behind our church, and they wanted to dedicate dedicate the park. Well, yeah, dedicate the park to the church, whatever things like that. So my pastor asked me to get a team together to play in a tournament that was in the park in memory of a young man's son. So I put together a team of guys that I knew that was in high school that played basketball. And long story short, we was able to win the championship for that tournament. So next year, another one came up. There was another tournament that was for the church. So we have a bunch of like churches that we are connected with, and they have like a big tournament between the different churches. So my pastor asked me to again get a team together because we actually was hosting the tournament that year. So I put another team together, and again we was able to win the championship. But it was just the love that I had for the game and just knowing the game and the kids that I was able to bring together. And these kids, three of them only played together before. The other five kids that I brought together never played with each other. And I was able in one day to get them to play together and actually win a championship when they played against other teams that been playing together consistently for a while. And we was able to come together and win a tournament in one day. So I just started like really thinking about like, man, this is like something that I'm really passionate about. I feel like this is a purpose that I have to coach and not just coach basketball, but to be an influence in these young men's lives, teaching them things that I didn't know when I was younger, or things, or talking to them about things that they they need to know as young men and not go down certain roads that I went down. So that's always so basketball was my way to get through to them, to build that trust and then give them the information I need to give them.
And you've done a wonderful job at that. So I feel like, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, particularly right now, is because I just know that God is so intentional, and nothing we experience, nothing we go through is by accident. So I feel like this at this point it's come full circle for you because you've done a little bit of coaching here, a little bit of coaching there, you volunteered, but after being committed for over 20 years, finally this year, what are you going to be able to do?
I am going to be able to coach high school basketball. I'm going to be the assistant coach, but I'm going to be the coach of. I'm gonna have my own JV team, junior varsity team, but I'm also be assistant to varsity. And just to give you a quick story, um, one of the schools I was working at the time, a few years ago, I volunteered as a coach, um, and I gave them 5 years of my time. Me and my wife had a lot of discussions about me doing this for free. I wasn't getting paid for it, but again, when she read the book and she understood why I was doing it, um, I was able to be a part of the staff, but I wasn't really a part of the staff. It didn't feel like I was really there, but I still gave them everything I had. I was able to, like, when I actually really went in and really got really involved with the team, I think the school at that time had their best record in years. I was an intricate part of that where I influenced a lot of the players and was able to coach them to where like that was one of our best records of the time at that moment. Um, and then I was applied for assistant coaching position, and I was not given the opportunity to do it after again volunteering my time for 5 years. So that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, and I kind of not walked away from the game, but I always consistently played basketball personally as recreation and cardio for myself, just to try to stay in shape. But I didn't want anything to really do with coaching. I was always around the game. Um, I would go see a game here and there, like high school game here and there, just to, keep tabs on my students because they they were still my students at the time. So I would keep a track, just to see how they doing in the game. But I had to stay away from it for a while until I met someone, a young man that we became connected. And it was like unexpected. We just connected and talking basketball with him, and we just bouncing ideas off each other. Started bringing up that fire again, and he was like, "Yo, let's I'm starting an AAU program. Like, what's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, I could do that. I like, I used to be against AAU. Let me not lie. I didn't like AAU as a high school coach. At one point, I didn't like the AAU circuit, but now I understand it a little better. So with him, me and him started coaching AAU together, and it started bringing back that fire. He started seeing that passion that I had for it, and it started to surface more. And he was like, "Yeah, I would like to have you on my coaching staff." So he had told me this a while ago. He was like, "Yeah, if I ever get my own team, I want to bring you on." I'm like, people say things, and I'm like, yeah, I get excited about it. But when he got his head coaching job, I was at a basketball game, took my daughter, we went to go see like a semi-pro basketball game, and he was there, and he just whispered to me, "Yo, I got a job as a head coach, and I think I want you to come with me." And I was lost for words. I came home, told my wife, like, I think it's gonna happen. And I will be coaching in November. Starting November, I'll be coaching high school basketball.
And I'm so happy for you. So yeah, I am really happy. So all the work has paid off. I mean, I know there's so much more you could share, but in the interest of time, before we close out, I just want to say you can catch him on social media under Alex Tillery, and where on Instagram. What are you under?
Under Coach Till. That's Coach underscore
Till.
Till.
And the website is scrolling there, www.aheadofthegamecoaching.com. Before we close out, we have like 1 minute left. Words of encouragement or inspiration for somebody.
Never give up on your passion. If you feel passionate about something, and you feel like if you get that burning feeling that this is what you should be doing, and like you're dedicated to it, and it gives you joy while you're doing it, then go do it. Figure out a way to make it happen, and just go for it, and let God guide you. Because if it's for you, God will put you in a position to do what you need to do. So I would say to people.
Thank you. Well, thank you for finally agreeing to come on. It took forever for you to get here, but I think this is a great time. Of course, I wish you a very, very, very successful season. And that is more than just the wins, but the impact that you're going to be able to have on these youth. And he's coaching for KIP in Camden. So just know that these are kids who, really need to know that there's more to life, that there's more out there. So again, congratulations and have a great season.
Hey, this is Molly Music, and you're watching Gwen on Kingdom News.
welcome to Kingdom Inspiration News. We are at the portion of the show where I get to highlight gospel artists. Yes. And so today I have the privilege of having on predestined gospel singers out of Detroit, Michigan. Now, it's only two of them with us today, but it's a total of seven of them. So we're going to be able to hear from Danita and Patricia today about who they are, their latest project, and how they came to be. How did this all come together? So welcome to the show, Danita and Patricia.
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure, my pleasure. So let's start with Danita. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Danita Gibson, and I am soprano / alto / everything in the group. I'm the manager of the group. Also, I have a show also, Predestined Gospel Show. And I just wear a lot of hats in the group.
Okay. So you're the one that's behind the scene and in front.
Yeah.
All right. Patricia.
I'm Patricia Whittington. I'm the lead singer of the group. I also write most of the music for the group. And I play drums at my church. So I started singing when I was 6 years old. My dad used to sing the Williams Brothers, so he started us singing. My sister, my brother, and myself actually opened up with the Clark Sisters when I was 10 years old, when they were just coming out. So singing has been in my history, in my background, since I was a kid, since I was a baby.
Nice. So, like I said, there's seven of you. So how did this group, and did you always have that name? How did this come to be to where you are now? You're on your third project. How did you get there? Talk to me a little bit about that process and what that was like.
When I moved back from Mississippi, I went to school in Mississippi, and I moved back here in 2006. And I was going to join a group that had already been out there, and they lived on the east side. I actually lived in Inkster, which is 40 minutes from Detroit. So I didn't want to take that drive every week. So I decided, just to trust God and start my own group. And God started sending the right people at the right time, at the right place, and thus the name Predestined. It was something that was predestinated by God and preordained, and here we sit right now. This is our third project. It's called Do You Know Jesus? God blessed us last year to win several awards, and also we were signed by Dome Music Group in Baltimore. And so God has just been doing great things in our lives, in our music ministry. I'm also a minister. Danita is an evangelist. So we have a Women of Grace women's group right here in the city of Michigan, state of Michigan.
I'm sorry. Tell me a little bit about that.
Women of Grace was started 6 years ago. It started because actually I would always have Bible study by myself. And a friend of mine came by one day and she wanted to study with me. And so she said, Pat, we should have a women's study group. And I said, well, my brother just told me the same thing. I said, so God must be orchestrating something. So we started 6 years ago. We have 182 members.
Wow.
Locally and in other cities. Mm-hmm. We do great things in the community. We just raised money for, I think it was Ronald McDonald House, yes, and Alzheimer's, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. We put on a weekend of praise, a weekend of hope, where we brought prayer warriors out to pray for cancer patients. My cousin, who's one of them just passed with breast cancer, and another one is suffering through breast cancer. So we wanted to do something in that field. I'm working with cancer patients. So God bless us to put on a beautiful weekend of hope where we raise money and we sent the money to these different organizations. So we do a whole lot of things in the community other than just sing.
Yes.
Nice. I like that. So you said it's 182 members, but they're not just in the Detroit area. So is this something that is virtual?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Is it open to anybody, or is there a process to get involved?
No, ma'am. All you do is just go on Women of Grace Ministries and click on. We have Bible study every Wednesday from 6:30 on Zoom, where we talk about different things that affect women. and then we look at it from a biblical standpoint to see what did God say and how does He support what we're doing. Because as women, we have so much going on so many times. Me, I only had the one child, but one kid can be just as like having 10. Because I was, for a long time, I was my son's only friend when he was little. So we have a whole lot of things that's going on, and what we do, we sit down and we let someone come up with an idea, and we'll look at it and see what God says about it. From a woman's perspective.
It's on Facebook.
Yes.
Okay, I love it. I started a women's group similar to that right at the beginning of COVID because I just felt like we needed something as women. It was so many different issues, so many worries and concerns. And so I love that idea. Listen, I might be tuning in one Wednesday. I might come in and check y'all out. I love that. So again, you said, it's about more than singing. Tell me a little bit more, though. You said you were predestined to come together, but I know, you made it seem like it was so simple. Was it the process to getting where you are now to being able to release, your third project? Was it really that simple?
No, ma'am, it wasn't. It wasn't, because we're all, the great thing about our group is there's three of us. One of our sisters, Danita's biological sister, was the manager of the group. She passed away last October. Mm-hmm. And she was just a prayer warrior for this group. When things were going bad, all she would tell me is, Pat, we got to pray. She would have us fasting every Thursday morning, and so she was that glue that where all of us might want to walk away and get mad. And, and I'm a Taurus the bull, so I have a temper. so, but she was that calming space for us, And so when God saw fit to remove her, and I literally didn't know where this group was going to go because she was my backbone. She really was. She kept me focused on my ministry when things got down and I wanted to give up and I'm about to cry. Lord, don't make me cry. But she was that calming place for me. And so in her passing, literally we were rehearsing that Monday night and I kept saying, God, how do I bring these people together? How do I bring these people together? And it's like I wasn't getting any answer. And when we went down into my basement and God began to let Marilyn speak to me where I can speak to them. And so it's been an uphill battle because we have our musicians, our guys that play for different churches and, they have their own thing going on and, and so it's never easy. But, with God, all things are possible. And so he continues to bless us. As long as we bless God, God continues to bless us.
Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. It sounds like a but God experience, even though there have been struggles, but God, but God has allowed you guys to stay together. And how long have you been together? And has it always been the same members?
We'll be together 10 years in May. And for the most part, except Marilyn's passing, yes, it's been the same members.
So that's,
God has given us longevity, and stability to stand because these ladies are like my sisters. I talk to them probably more than I do my own sister who lives maybe 20 minutes from me. And I talk to my sister every day too. But, we have so much in common. Our love of God and our love of ministry keeps us grounded, keeps us even. Danita was a hard case for me because I'm a little bit different. She's real laid back and sometimes can seem withdrawn. Me, I'm very outspoken. And so, we were totally different. But since Marilyn passed, because God had sent me Danita and, through Marilyn always telling me, Pat, you got to stay on Danita, Pat. And I promised Marilyn and I told Danita, and it wasn't that Marilyn was sick and we were expecting her to pass or anything. It was just a conversation the two of us were having. And I said, well, I'm going to kick Danita out the group. Danita's her biological sister, mind you. And so Marilyn's like, Pat, we got to stay on her. We got to stay on her. We got to stay on her. And so I promised Marilyn. I was like, okay, I'm going to stay on her. And it wasn't maybe 2 weeks later, Marilyn had passed.
Mm.
And so God kept bringing that back to my mind. I got to stay on her. And Danita has stepped up so much. I told her just that Marilyn will be so surprised and so proud.
I don't think Marilyn would be surprised, actually. Actually, I think Marilyn knew exactly what she was doing and what she was
Probably.
talking about because she was probably a great leader. It sounds like she was a great leader.
She
And
was.
the one thing I know about a great leader is they make sure that it's not just about them. They make sure that they put in place what needs to be put in place. If for ever any reason they can't do it, there's someone who can carry that torch. There's someone who's going to keep it going. And so to me, she just sounds like she was a great leader who guided you and helped you to be able to make sure that you brought forth the next leader that would be able to do what needed to be done for
Yeah.
the group. So that's really a testament to what kind of person she was. So I don't think she's surprised at all. She's probably like, I knew it. I knew Danita wasn't going to be the one to go anywhere. And I knew that she was going to be the one to be the glue that held everything together. So that is truly an example of effective leadership.
Yeah.
And she
So now,
was just that. She was. She literally told me a week prior to her passing, she says, Pat, I think nobody's fasting but me and you. So she's like, I'm not going to send out any more prayer notices. And I looked at and I said, well, I'm not going to do it. It's like she knew she was leaving. And she was telling me she was leaving. But at the time, we didn't know that. Because I remember a conversation with her. She's like, you're going to have to do it. And I used to tell her, I said, Marilyn, everybody that ain't on medication need to be. So I can't talk to these people like that, And so, but she kept saying, you're going to have to. And I was thinking, nope. But, in her passing, God has opened up so much. He's opened up my heart for people that I love, but I never probably liked because we're a little bit different, and so God has opened up a place in my heart where I love these people genuinely. So now I like them.
mm-hmm.
At first, I probably didn't like them. It was just about they was in the group.
Danita, you sit there all quiet. You are the quiet one. So talk to me.
Yeah.
So Marilyn passes, and then how do you, the quiet one who probably just was like, I'm just showing up and singing and leaving, how do you now take on so much?
Well, I wasn't really quiet. I'm still not quiet. I'm not quiet, really.
Excuse me, but you're a great leader too, because what you said was true. She showed up and left.
It was a process, and you was talking about being, the group as our name, predestined. We were predestined to be together. I was thinking about when she was talking and she was talking about the men, and the men being in the group, and it's just like a marriage. You know how when God joins you together, when the man finds the wife, he finds a good thing, and when he joins the women together, he joined our group together, and so we just fit together. Like we're just joined together at the hip. And so we just bonded together, and we were just predestined to be together in this group.
Yes.
So as far as with my sister, she did know, because she would tell me, she said, make sure your oil is filled. That's what she told me before she passed. And so I was like, make sure my oil is filled, I know about the five foolish and the five that had their oil lamps filled. And so I said, okay. So after she passed, I said, I got it. So I knew that her mantle from her, I knew it passed on to me after she passed away, even within my family. Because now within my family and my siblings, I'm the glue that's holding them together as well.
Mm.
So it's a process within our group, but the favor of God is what's holding us and what's keeping us.
Yes, yes. And again, I just believe that she left some things with you, each one of you, for you to be able to move forward, not just as the group, but even like you said, for your family. And it, I don't know, just as you described her, I feel like she was always someone that was aware of things were always bigger than her, that it was bigger than her and more than her.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So tell me about the recent project. This is project, well, before we get to that, this past year, was it June, July, the Rhythm of Gospel Awards took place and you guys were nominated. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What was that experience like?
That was a great experience. You know, we had won the Gospel Choice Awards, and then we won the Praise Factor Awards. And I was so excited about being nominated for the Rhythm of Gospel Awards. I was calling everybody like at the same time the Praise Factor Awards was going on. I think I even had stopped mentioning it, and it was just so exciting to be nominated. You know, and although we didn't win, we could still say that, you know, we were nominated. Our music was out there. It's been playing all over the world, which is, you know, grace be to God. You know, things are moving forward in that nature. But as I always tell everybody, a lot of times it's not about what's going on in a public view. If it's not from a spiritual base or from the spirit realm, or someone being changed, convicted, or life just opening up to who God is,
Right.
then it's in vain for me.
Yes.
So as much as being nominated and winning and stuff is great, at the end of the day, I want to be able to tell God, I move forth in your name.
Mm-hmm.
That some guy asked me, our Bible study tomorrow is actually about the attributes of Jesus. A guy asked me from work, he said, what does it mean that Jesus is the light of the world? And when people ask you that from a worldly position, that, you know, they don't really read the Bible, like, because I always tell people, when you don't know something, just pray. When things are going bad, just pray. When things are going good, just pray. Because that prayer is the initial key to opening up your life, where Jesus can come in and change everything about you. He can take you from nothing to something. He can make your enemies your footstool. Yes, where they're now lifting you up. Right. So, you know, and so for me, it's even though all that is great, it's about what are we saying that is going to mirror the image of Christ. And I think God, because now when he's giving me music to write, I just wrote a song called "Let It Rain," and when I first was telling the group about the song, the one of our members, Gloria, she said, "Pat, that song is too slow." And then the musician, the guitar player, he said, "Yeah, it's gonna be slow and boring." We actually sang that song last Sunday, and one lady came up to me and said, "Can you please just sing another round?" And that for me, I had to let her give her a hug, because that for me is what it's about.
Yes.
Because I don't want you to get so caught up in the drive or in the awards or anything that you see outwardly. It's about what is God doing inwardly, that's moving outwardly, so man can see and be changed. Yes. Because with quartet music, we do a whole lot of driving, and I tell anybody, I don't even drive my car a lot of times. So I don't want to drive you anywhere that's not going to get you where Christ wants you to be. I don't want you jumping and just getting caught up in the music. My uncle, I'll give you an example. Kirk Franklin put out a song a few years ago called Stump. My uncle was just stomping his little tail off. I tell you the truth. And when I told him, I said, "Do you know that's a gospel song?" He was shocked. You know why? Because he got caught up in the stump and not the words.
Yeah.
In the words is the message.
Yes.
Yeah, listen, you are on point. I put out a post earlier. It was shared from someone else's page. I don't do that too often, but you know, I've been operating in this thing of love, operating in love. You know what? Because, and the word says, it doesn't matter what your gifting is, it doesn't matter what your title is. If you're not operating in love, it's like, what's that you're like a what's the word, like a bad sound. I forget the
Mhm.
exact word, but basically it's saying that we got to operate in love.
Yes.
At the end of the day, we could, like you said, get these awards and these nominations and on these big stages, but what are people going to really remember?
Right.
Did we really have an impact on people? Are we really being the light? Or are we just looking just as dim as the rest of the world? We've been
Exactly.
called to be light. So that's why I like this platform, because I want to be able to show people what light looks like.
Right.
And you specifically said it. It's not about the awards, it's about the impact. And I know I love music. I share this all the time. I said, God knows, He knows what to do. He knew
Mhm.
not to give me the ability to sing, because I wouldn't do anything else but sing if I could sing. I absolutely love music. I grew up listening to music, but I know the impact that music can have on
Mm.
someone. And so when you're writing, I'm sure you're writing from the heart, and you're writing with the intention of literally this song having an impact on somebody's day, on
Yes.
somebody's life, period, so
Yes.
that they can understand who this God is. And this
Yes.
God is real, and He is love, and He can transform. So tell us the name of the project, the new project.
The new project is Predestined Gospel Sings of Michigan, live from Detroit. We have a song on there. Do you know Jesus? And that's a great song, because when I was bringing that song forth, one guy didn't understand what I meant when I said, "Do you know Jesus, and will He know you?" And
Mm,
so I had to explain to him that there's going to be people that Jesus is going to turn away and say, "I
Right.
do not know you, workers of
I
iniquity."
don't know you.
So
Mm,
I told myself, just get into the scriptures and read. That's
Right.
why when you're singing, or you're preaching, or you're a prophet, whatever God has gifted you with, you have to be true to the
That's
ministry
right.
and true to the gift. So that, because God is using us, I tell people all the time, we're modern day apostles, modern day disciples that are going forth, giving the word of God. Because we take for granted that everybody knows the word of God.
They
They don't. I had a young man, an African guy, a few years ago. I managed a hotel, and the guy looked at the Bible and he said, "This is an interesting book. Can I have it?"
Yes.
And
wow.
it seems like, what? But I was so glad, because when he opened it up, it's just like a kid when you're going to school. Knowledge is key.
Mm-hmm.
When he opened it up and he read the first part of Genesis, and he was so interested, intrigued by it. So guess what? I guarantee you that young man right now, by his initial impact of just looking at the Bible, thought it was a book. Because God has that ability to take you out of your mess and make you stress free, make you love more. He can open your heart where someone has closed it,
Yes, He can.
stamped on it, stumped on it, and did everything else if you just allow Him. It says,
Absolutely.
"The day you hear my voice, harden not your heart." And people think that means, oh, just today. That means
No.
even for us.
Yes.
God is
Mm,
still wanting us to have an open heart, because the world can beat us down. We've got COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I tell everybody, when COVID came past, my biggest worry? It wasn't grown people, it was babies, kids that didn't understand. I can't go to school. I can't play with my friends, because they didn't know what we know.
No.
right.
And we've got to be everything that we can to let kids know that God is still working it out.
Mm-hmm.
So when we find people that don't believe, I don't like to shut anybody out. Or my ministry is not about closing doors on anybody.
No.
Because that same God can tell you, if He saved me, and I've got a bad temper. I was raped at 7 years old by my own cousin. So I grew up with defenses. That was my biggest mechanism. I could go off on you in a blink of an eye. But God saw fit to use me through all of my pain, through all of my struggles,
Yes.
thinking I was all this in a bag of chips. God still saw fit to use me.
Yes.
And I will not, this day at 56 years old and no other day, look back or take for granted what God has done for me.
Amen.
And I get mad and me want to cry when people don't get it, because I just want to strangle some people sometimes and say, this God that I'm talking about, you got to get to know him.
Got to.
For
He just
yourself.
real in my life.
Yes. Get to know him for yourself.
Yes.
Because when you get to know him for yourself, it's nothing like it.
No.
Nothing like it. I'm so glad that you ladies decided to come on. I'm loving the story. I'm loving the testimonies. I'm loving the transformation. I love your transparency. I love that you're keeping it real, because that's something else we need to start doing in the kingdom. It's
Yeah.
just being real,
Yes.
being truthful. Stop acting like we're perfect. We're
Right.
not perfect. We
Yeah.
are so far from perfect. But despite our imperfection, it doesn't stop God from loving us, and
No.
it doesn't stop his plan for us either. So before we close out, just share with us how people can reach you. And then also we're gonna show a video. I'm not sure if you decided which one, but if you do, just tell us a little bit about that before we close out.
Okay. Well, you can reach us at Predestined Gospel Show 20 at yahoo.com. Also, my phone number is 248-277-8368. And our secretary, Gloria Taylor, at 313-728-5400. And our song,
It's actually a song that we did last Sunday. It's a live video from church. The song is Fly Away. It's a 3-minute snippet of that. And then the
Yeah.
song I was speaking about earlier, God blessed us with a song called Let It Rain. And so that's what you'll see, and we pray that you enjoy it.
yes.
I'm pretty sure that I will. Once again, I thank you ladies for coming on to Kingdom Inspiration News. You have been an inspiration to me, and I'm sure an inspiration to the viewing audience. So thank you. Continued blessings to both of you and to the entire group.
Thank
Thank you so much for having us.